Maybe just fill us in a little on your own background, if you would, please.
Well, my parents during World War II were incarcerated and put in concentration camps.
I'm terribly sorry.
Then in 1946, when my parents were let out of the concentration camps, I built an atom smasher in my mom's garage.
So I went to my mom and I said, Mom, can I have permission to build an atom smasher in the garage? A 2.3 million electron volt electron betatron particle accelerator. And my mom kind of stared at me and said, sure, why not? And don't forget to take out the garbage. So I took out the garbage. I got 400 pounds of transformer steel, 22 miles of copper wire, and I built a betatron atom smasher in my mom's garage. I blew out every single circuit breaker in the house every time I turned it on.
You mean freezing the body and living forever in that sense? I think there's a danger in that, in the sense that you create ice crystals. For example, if you take a look at a fish or a frog, they can be frozen solid over wintertime, and springtime you thaw them out and there they are. They've been frozen solid, and yet they can still swim and jump. Why? We know the answer. Glucose. Glucose is an antifreeze. And because these animals create lots of glucose in their blood, they're still liquid when their surrounding environment is totally solid. You could freeze a fish in solid ice and it still comes out because inside the metabolic processes are slowly taking place. We do not have this antifreeze. The level of glucose necessary for us to be in suspended animation would kill us. And so the very process of freezing, you have to worry about ice crystals. Ice crystals form inside a cell. As they grow, they rupture the cell wall. That is a big problem facing anyone who's going to be put in liquid nitrogen.
You say in your book that there was a teacher when you were in the second grade that had an impact on you. You remember it?
I'll never forget. She walked in the room one day and said, God so loved the earth that he put the earth just right from the sun. Not too close, because the oceans will boil. Not too far, because the oceans will freeze, but just right from the sun. Now, I was floored. I mean, I was in second grade. And here was a scientific principle with a religious interpretation. I said to myself, my God, that's right. If we were too close, the oceans would boil. If we were too far, the oceans would freeze. We are in the so-called Goldilocks zone of the sun. Well, now that we have found so many planets, that in the galaxy, our own backyard, there are billions upon billions of planets. On average, every single star you see at night has a planet going around it. And almost all of them are too close or too far from the sun. So you have 2 points of view. Either God exists, and God so loves the earth that he put the earth just right from the sun, or we have a crapshoot.
The fact is, quantum mechanics says the cat is neither dead nor alive. Right. Now, the question is, if you have to observe something to make sure the cat is either dead or alive, this means, of course, that somebody has to do the observing.
Yes, right.
Consciousness has to open the box. Now, the question is, therefore, was there consciousness before humans?
Yeah. Oh, well, okay.
Now, Einstein asked this question. He said, this is ridiculous. He didn't believe in the quantum theory. We now know this was, of course, Einstein's great mistake. And he had a very famous interaction with a guy named Abraham Peiss. They were walking down the street one day, and he said, look at the moon.
Yeah.
And Abraham looked at the moon, and he said, I see the moon. And he said, do you believe that the moon exists only because a mouse can look at it? Mice have looked at the moon. And he said, do you think the moon sprung into existence just because a mouse looked at it? Now, Einstein was very puzzled about this. Now, of course, the average person hearing this for the first time thinks that scientists have finally gone wacko. Scientists have finally gotten off the deep. They're mad. But actually, this has been tested experimentally. We have atoms like cats that are neither dead nor alive. And before you look at the atom, you cannot tell whether they're dead or alive, whether they have decayed or whether they're still there or not.
Yeah.
Okay. So in fact, the act of observing means the thing springs into existence.
But given the fact that we've already identified 4,000 exoplanets orbiting other stars, and we have a census of the Milky Way galaxy for the first time, we know that on average, every single star, on average, has a planet going around it, and about 1/5 or so of them have Earth-sized planets going around them. So just do the math. We're talking about out of 100 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy, we're talking about billions of potential Earth-sized planets. The creation of the universe, the formation of stars and galaxies and planets, maybe even people and love. A single formulation that would summarize all of physics. Now today, we can put all the known laws of physics on a sheet of paper. Believe it or not, the standard model plus relativity can be placed on one sheet of paper. So we know that the universe is simpler than we thought, but it's not enough. That sheet of paper only describes 4% of the universe. It describes a universe of atoms. It does not describe dark matter. It does not describe gravity. It does not describe dark energy, which make up 96% of the universe. For that, you need string theory. Just because you know the laws of chess does not mean you become a grand master at chess, and that's where we are going. We already have a theory of almost everything, a theory of 4%. We have that theory. But string theory would give us perhaps a theory of 100%. But the rubber band has higher vibrations, including dark matter. And so the subatomic particles, including dark matter, are nothing but musical notes on a string. Physics is nothing but the harmonies you can write on vibrating strings. Chemistry is nothing but the melodies you can play on strings. The universe is a symphony of strings, and the mind of God. But you see, the multiverse idea means that there was a time before time. And there are multiple times. Each bubble has its own time. And so it means that there could actually be a universe before the beginning of our universe. So if you think of a bubble bath, when two bubbles collide, or when two bubbles fission to create a baby bubble, that's called the Big Bang. So the Big Bang is nothing but the collision of universes or the budding of universes.